Me and Ralph have an ongoing theory called the theory of dynamic narrative, which is basically this idea that every narrative that is constructed will have one or multiple opposing narratives that exist to strike down that constructed narrative. And so there is an ongoing dynamic between narratives that are constructed and narratives that are set to oppose those constructed narratives. And that's something that happens kind of as a dichotomy or a spectrum. Going back to the history of corporate narratives and why corporations actually had to focus on the communicative aspect of business and enterprise. Ralph mentioned Rockefeller. That's interesting. I think going further back than Rockefeller, one of the first personal brands to actually exist was by Da Vinci, who sent letterheads out to royal families, if I'm not mistaken, to sell himself with a portfolio of products, with a portfolio of talents and services that he could provide during the war. So that's something that's quite interesting as well. And I think when we talk about corporate narratives, there is, as Ralph mentioned again, this shift of collective corporate narrative and a personal corporate narrative, aka the personal brand. We're seeing a lot of this trending now on LinkedIn. We're doing it, you're doing it, everyone's doing it. We're selling ourselves in terms of our professional selves online, on digital media, what we can do in terms of our talent and our services that we can provide and things like this. So I think that there's a lot of dichotomies. I think Louis Hyman, the great scholar, he mentioned that the bourgeoisie and the proletariat, they constantly have a push and pull between who gets more power and who does, and such things throughout history. As you mentioned, I think Andrew Carnegie, the steel magnate, Rockefeller, J.P. Morgan, and the rise of all of these industrialists throughout the 1700s, 1800s saw a lot of violence because corporations could do whatever they wanted, and the proletariat was essentially helpless. But throughout since then, there have been a lot of shifting back and forth. I think in the 70s and 80s, I think the power shifted back to the proletariat. Employees got a lot more power in terms of union laws, and policies were shifting towards their favor. And then when the gig economy and the startup economy and the tech economies actually started to rise again, inadvertently what happened was that the shift went back to the employers. So Louis Hyman talks a little bit about this, and so there's that do other experts like Tim Wu and other authors. So there are interesting dichotomies that exist all around. Yeah.